are continuing our election coverage. I wish you could have heard the commercial break. We're having a spirited conversation with Isaac Hale, assistant politics professor at Occidental College.
Thanks so much for being here yet again. We're all kind of policy nerds, just chatting it up during the break. Let's start with the presidential election, of course, the big race. Did Donald Trump overperform? Did Kamala Harris underperform? And what do we think about polling?
Yeah, those are great questions. So when we're thinking about under and over performance, I think the big question is, what's our baseline? Compared to 2020, very clearly Trump overperformed. We saw kind of a secular, across-the-board improvement for Donald Trump across the country. He did better among most demographic groups in this election than he did 4 years ago. If we're talking about compared to the polling, yes, it looks like he somewhat overperformed the polling. Polls had, on average, Harris leading the national popular vote between 1 to 2 points. It looks like when all is said and done, the national popular vote will be very close. Once California is done counting in a week or two, we'll see which of them comes out on top, maybe a slight Trump lead in the national popular vote, but that would suggest a relatively small, maybe 2-point polling error, which would be actually a smaller polling error than we saw in both 2020 and 2012.
I think it's really fascinating when you look at this. You know, people now looking toward the future. People are already talking about 2028 this morning. If you look at the numbers and how they came in, it seems like everything has shifted to Donald Trump about 3%. If you look across all of the different swing states that he needed, she underperformed when it came in many of those swing states to what Biden had performed in 2020, which cost. What did the Democrats learn from this? It seems like we don't necessarily, you know, the Democratic Party has had a problem for some time, I feel like, really connecting to working class voters in these swing states.
Yeah, I think that's a really excellent point. So one of the things we've seen in the last several elections is some real shifts in the party coalitions. We've seen white voters with a college degree increasingly sorting into the Democratic Party, white voters without a college degree sorting into the Republican Party. And then we've seen in this election some early indications that Latino voters made a shift towards voting Republican in this election as well. And while these white voters with a college degree moving into the Democratic camp has helped offset some of these losses, it has not been enough, and this, I think, will be cause for a lot of soul-searching in the Democratic Party in the days and weeks to come as they think about what it means to rebuild a winning coalition.
I heard a lot about economics, right? Whereas Donald Trump kind of gave broad ideas and promises, Kamala Harris actually did have a very well-devised plan, well laid out, and she didn't really deliver that message, or at least it didn't connect with a lot of people.
Yeah, so she did run a lot of ads talking about the economy, right? It was certainly an important message for her campaign, but it's certainly also the case that in the closing weeks of the campaign, a lot of her messaging was about the state of American democracy. We saw that country over party tour in the Midwest with Liz Cheney. So, you know, there was some other messaging going on that may have been less salient for voters as well. But I think it's also just important to keep in mind that this is an election where the incumbent Democratic president, Joe Biden, has 39% approval. Voters are overwhelmingly pessimistic about the state of the economy. And that was going to be a dead weight on Kamala Harris, regardless of what kind of campaign she ran.
Well, it again is interesting to me because if you go back to when the former president, now President-elect Trump, was in office, it was during COVID. And it was one of those things, we had a lot of stimulus, we had a lot of money pumped into the economy. I feel like this is, a lot of voters just took their feelings and not necessarily looked at what was actually in play during some of the timing of this. So her messaging didn't connect, and there wasn't a real message of what was happening when people did feel better about the economy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think it's also very likely the case that Donald Trump received an electoral penalty for what happened during COVID, even though there was, yes, that COVID stimulus that occurred. When voters are upset about the state of the country, when voters think things are on the wrong track, when voters are feeling extremely pessimistic, this is just a hard hill for incumbent political parties to overcome.
Professor Hale, thanks for joining us. I have a million more questions for you, but hopefully we'll get to those in the coming days.
Can you stay?
And
we have lots of commercial breaks we'd like to talk to you in. All right, let's go.